Hi, and welcome to my monthly book review and to the accountability club to keep myself accountable and committed to read a book every single month in the year of 2022. I told you at the beginning of the year that I find it incredibly difficult to finish a book. I read a ton of different books and I start a lot of different books, but I never get to finish them. And I think I'm missing out. So at the beginning of the year in January 2022, I set myself the goal to read a book every single month, and it's honestly been absolutely fantastic. I'm so proud of myself. I finished book number 3. Unofficially, I even finished 4 books, and I'm already reading book 5 and book 6. So I do still read a little bit simultaneously a couple of different books at the same time because I just have so many different interests, and sometimes I just also feel like reading different types of books. But I'm taking a lot of notes and I'm learning a lot of different things, and I'm super excited to share with you this month the book review of the book The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And it's been a really interesting read, let's be honest, because first of all I thought, I didn't really like the book. That was my first sense. I was thinking it would probably be a 6 out of 10, to be honest. Not better, not worse. There are a couple of really powerful things in here that I want to share with you today. A couple of different takeaways that I've learned throughout this book. But yeah, it's been an interesting book. It's definitely been an easy read, super easy to read. Just a lot of little small chapters, so it's easy to read the chapter and put the book away. And there's a lot of life wisdom in this book. Actually, a friend of mine recommended me to read this book, so I would say let's get into the book review. I want to share with you a little bit about what the book is about, and I want to share with you my 5 takeaways from The Midnight Library. So let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer, and I'm excited to dive with you right into the book review of Midnight Library. First of all, the book is about Nora. Nora is 35 years old and pretty deeply depressed. She just lost her job. She lost another kind of hobby job that she was doing on the side. Her cat dies. Her brother is not talking to her. Her friend is super far away in Australia, and she's just deeply depressed. And so she decides to take her life. And as she is losing her life or drifting away, instead of dying, she lands in the Midnight Library. And her high school librarian, Mrs. Elm, is there to guide her through different options of lives that she could have lived if she would have made different decisions. So Nora is going on this quest of trying out all of these different lives and seeing all of the different things she could have had and she could have experienced if she would have made different choices in her life. So pretty interesting. And so there's a couple of really powerful stories in the book, and I will read an excerpt actually of the book today as well. But before we're jumping into all of that, I want to share my 5 main takeaways from the book and what I particularly liked about reading it. Takeaway number 1. I've always been super fascinated by parallel universes and the question of what if? What if I would have made this different decision? What if I would have lived in another country or spent my time with another person, right? And that's exactly what Nora is going through. She has a ton of different regrets in her life, which is why she's taking her life as well. And in the book, it's really powerful to see how she's living through these different parallel universes. And her big takeaway is that there's no better life. There's not a good life or a worse life. It's just a different life. And there's another book that I actually read from the beginning to the end last year, and it's called The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. And he actually says the same things, that there's actually no regrets in life and there's no better lives. They're just different lives. So there's no lives where you have a better life, because there's always the good and the bad, and that's just what makes life so powerful. So that was my first takeaway from Midnight Library. Takeaway number 2 was you can always make the best of what you have, and what you have is enough. That's a pretty powerful statement. So let me say this one more time. You can always make the best of what you have, and what you have is good enough. I think we're living in a society where we always want more and where we always find it hard to just be happy with what we have, but it is a really powerful reminder again in the book that we already have everything we need, and just because we think that another life would be better is actually not making it better, because then it is taking us away from being in the present moment and living our life and really trying in that life itself to make the best of it. So I found that really powerful and a really good reminder, because from a revolutionary perspective, we are just wired to always see the negative things in our life, and we oftentimes have this not enough attitude. And I think it is really powerful to shift that perspective and think about it, just as I said, from the point of, hey, you can actually always make the best of what you already have. And that brings me to the next takeaway, which is, instead of being wrapped up in wishful thinking, focus on what you have and make the best of what you have right now and make decisions based on that. And it is obviously super connected with takeaway number 2, but it is really the idea of, hey, we need to be more in the present moment, and we need to focus on what we have and make that better. Make our relationships better, make our work better, make our lives better, right? Our physical health, our mental health. It is so easy to always project ourselves into other areas in our lives and think, if only that would be better, I would feel so much better. If only I would have made this other decision, right? If only if I could be with this other person. If only I could live in this other country or work for this other company, then my life would be so much better, right? And because we are having all of these regrets, we miss out on living the present life and making that the best that we can. And I thought it was such a powerful reminder that we can all benefit from. Takeaway number 4, really, really powerful one. Life is like a volcano, not like a black hole. That was actually one of the main takeaways from the main character Nora as well, because she was always referring to her life as a black hole. But towards the end of the book, she has the realization that her life is actually like a volcano. It has a destructive side, but also a really beautiful creation side, right? Because a volcano can destroy things, but then it is also creating things and fertilizing things. And that is exactly what life is about. And a lot of spiritual teachers are always talking about this, that, you know, there's really the yin and the yang, the good and the bad. We always have two sides of the coin. And so the volcano, I thought, was a really powerful and beautiful metaphor to think about life that way, and to think, hey, there are destructive parts and there are shitty parts, let's be totally honest. And then there's really powerful and beautiful parts as well. And we are living through multiple deaths in our lifetime as well, in order to rebuild a better life, in order to rebuild something that gives us new experiences and new learnings. So I thought that was really, really wonderful. And finally, the last takeaway, and the most important takeaway actually from the book, is about mental health and depression. So Nora obviously has a mental health problem, and she's super depressed, and she is committing suicide. And I think that really triggered me at the beginning, which is maybe why I didn't love the book as much at the beginning, because I was like, someone is talking about mental health and depression. I talk about it all the time in my videos, right? But when you're so close to that story, and a lot of things kind of parallels, right? Like Nora is 35 years old, and there's these things going on in her life that, you know, related a little bit to my life at the moment. And yeah, I don't know, it really triggered me at the beginning. So what is actually really beautiful towards the end of the book is that she actually survives her suicide attempt, and the next day, the next day, because, you know, even though she's been living in all of these different parallel universes, and a lot of time has passed by in those parallel universes, she just has lost a couple of hours of sleep in her real life, right, in the reality life. And what was so powerful about that was when she woke up, she actually started to make these decisions to invest in her life there and then, because she made the decision that she wanted to live. And all of a sudden, you know, there are opportunities coming up for jobs. Her brother is reaching out to her, and she's having a conversation with her brother, and her best friend is reaching out to her. And really, from one day to another, where one day everything was so gray and so black and so desperate, goes to the next day being so much better, and so many more opportunities, and so many things resolving themselves. And I thought that was such a powerful reminder that sometimes when we are feeling really depressed, or when we are having issues or challenges with mental health, that some days they can just feel super draining and super sad, but then the next day, and based on what you make of it as well, everything can look so differently, and based on your decisions you can create such a powerful life. So focus on the life that you have today instead of always regretting what you didn't do. Okay, so that was super powerful and a good takeaway for me. And honestly, as I was typing down these different insights, it made the book more interesting. Honestly, that was my biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway was that I actually liked the book more after reviewing it than while I was reading it. Like I said, it was super interesting. The book was super well written and it kept me reading because I wanted to know what other life is she going to try out and what life is she going to like the most, you know, right? That was really holding the tension in the book, and it was really interesting to keep reading it, and I really wanted to know what kind of decision she's going to make at the end, even though I kind of knew that she's going to go back to her own old life. But really sitting down and reflecting on that as well was super powerful, and that's why I really love to do these book reviews with you, because it's just super cool to reflect on that and to talk with you about it as well. So thank you so much for listening already up until this point. And if you have been listening and watching up until this point, I do want to read a little excerpt from the book because it is super powerful. It's actually a Facebook post that Nora is writing in the book and posting on her Facebook page. And it's kind of a really great summary about life. So I do want to read that to you. And that's all I'm going to share in today's video. And then we'll just wrap it up and you can go from there. So let's dive into the little reading excerpt. A thing I have learned, written by a nobody who has been everybody. It is easy to mourn the lives we aren't living. Easy to wish we developed other talents, said yes to different offers. Easy to wish we'd worked harder, loved better, handled our finances more, been more popular, stayed in the band, gone to Australia, said yes to the coffee, or done more bloody yoga. It takes no effort to miss the friends we didn't make, and the work we didn't do, and the people we didn't marry, and the children we didn't have. It is not difficult to see yourself through the lens of other people and to wish you were all the different kaleidoscopic versions of you they wanted you to be. It is easy to regret and keep regretting ad infinitum until our time runs out. But it is not the lives we regret not living that are the real problem. It is the regret itself. It's the regret that makes us shrivel and wither and feel like our own and other people's worst enemy. We can't tell if any of those other versions would have been better or worse. Those lives are happening, it is true, but you are happening as well, and that is the happening we have to focus on. Of course, we can't visit every place or meet every person or do every job, yet most of what we'd feel in any life is still available. We don't have to play every game to know what winning feels like. We don't have to hear every piece of music in the world to understand music. We don't have to have tried every variety of grape from every vineyard to know the pleasure of wine. Love and laughter and fear and pain are universal currencies. We just have to close our eyes and savor the taste of the drink in front of us and listen to the song as it plays. We are as completely and utterly alive as we are in any other life, and we have access to the same emotional spectrum. We only need to be one person. We only need to feel one existence. We don't have to do everything in order to be everything, because we are already infinite. While we are alive, we always contain a future of multifarious possibility. So let's be kind to the people in our own existence. Let's occasionally look up from the spot in which we are, because wherever we happen to be standing, the sky above goes on forever. Yesterday I knew I had no future, and that was impossible for me to accept my life as it is now. And yet today, that same messy life seems full of hope, potential. The impossible, I suppose, happens via living. Will my life be miraculously free from pain, despair, grief, heartbreak, hardship, loneliness, depression? No. But do I want to live? Yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes. So I hope that I made you curious about the Midnight Library, because it is actually a pretty good book. And yeah, I thank you for watching this video. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment down below if you have a book that you think I should really read. And I really appreciate you being here, so I hope to see you around for one of my next videos. And until then, take care of yourself and see you soon.